A friend of mine is in Melbourne, Victoria, Australia. His family are Muslims, living in a Muslim community in Australia, which is not supposed to be a Muslim country. His local community and even his own family have been involved in virtually every terrorist plot in the country against the country in violent, bloody conquest. His own family have served prison terms for terrorist attacks against Australia. He obviously wants to leave Islam, and I can vouch for that. Unfortunately, according to the books and universal practice of Islam, the punishment for leaving Islam is torture and death. But this is Australia, right? Surely we have civilized laws here and freedom of religion and all that shit. He should be able to leave Islam just fine in Australia, the free country. He has been kicked out of his home, homeless, and highly suspected of being an apostate, which is a leaver of Islam. The worst thing you can do in Islam is to become an apostate, a deserter, an infidel. Do you think he is safe in Australia? Having no home now, he went to the government to find emergency housing. Can you guess what happened? Every government or non-government office to help the sick, the homeless, etc., they're all closed. Day in, day out. Every single one. Well, almost every single one. Unable to find safety and shelter, he spends another day and night out on the street. He tries again first thing in the morning. When he finally finds a government office that is still open, he speaks to, of all people, a local Muslim who says, conveniently, that she won't help him today and to try again tomorrow. It's not like he called it closing time. He called first thing in the morning. Yet for no apparent reason, he has to spend another day or night in the street. Keep in mind that the government's paying these people a fortune of money to sit there and say no instead of doing their job. He tries calling up the same place several times and gets a completely different answer from different people every time. Eventually, they insist he has to travel a long way outside the city, all the way back to, guess where? The Muslim area he is in danger from and trying to escape from. He is forced to go there. Tried everywhere, had no choice. And who does he speak to? The Muslim woman who refused to help him in the first place. And what does she do? Refers him back to the same people who referred him to her, in an endless loop. With my help, he tries everywhere, all day. Most government or non-government services for the homeless people are perpetually closed. The rest just run him back and forth, either hanging up or referring him back and forth here and there with a different answer every time. And they all, including the majority that are closed yet still being paid, they're all receiving obscene amounts of government funding. And their excuse for not doing their job is that they don't have enough money. Even though they still keep getting multi-billion-dollar one-off payments, and just got one just the other day. Is this like a strike or something? At least when people go on strike, they don't pretend to be doing their job and they don't get paid at all to do it. If you're getting paid to provide a critical government service, and you lie and refuse to do your job, and people get hurt in a big way, such as deliberately and knowingly allowing and even taking part, an active part, in terrorist attacks in your own country, against your own country, and your excuse for turning a blind eye and even taking part in it is that you want more money, I'm pretty sure that you and everyone in your organization needs to go to prison for life, immediately. Better yet, let's bring back the death penalty and worse. I believe in extreme deterrence for the abuse of positions of power and critical services. and the absolute necessity of such deterrence. You see, my friend's situation is even worse than I've said so far. And all these government people know and have been repeatedly told everything over and over and over again. Which, remember, as soon as the phone call ends, it never happened, right? I've been doing calls myself, and the government falsely accused me, threatened me, and hung up on me too. And I have recordings to prove it. My friend's own family are documented terrorists who joined ISIS and went to prison for terrorist plots to bomb Australia. Not just his family, but the Muslim community he lived in. It's not once or twice, but over and over again. He's in Australia, trying to escape Islamic subjugation, an apostate whose life is in danger, in Australia of all places. And homeless. And the government doesn't help him. All inside a major city in Australia. And they even go so far as to try and make his Muslim terrorist community deal with him internally. The people he's trying to escape from. He's a refugee trying to escape Islam in Australia. And the Australian government is in on it. Over and over. I have just spent the entire day with him, going from one government and non-government department and office to another, in endless circles, delayed and referred back and forth, and being flat out lied to over and over, while he's homeless and desperately trying to find somewhere to sleep at night, far away in another state of Melbourne, Victoria, far away from me in Melbourne, Victoria, while surrounded by Muslim terrorists who would torture and kill him if they knew what they already suspect. Not a single one will do the critically important job they are paid to do. Most of them are closed and have been for a long time, yet still being paid a fortune with your taxes. And perpetually demanding more money. The government is effectively closed in every corner. The places that are open only refer him back and forth until he ends up at an answering machine that is closed until further notice. And they deliberately delay and lie every step of the way with a different answer every time. He can't even get into a homeless shelter anywhere. He tried calling everywhere and gets a different answer every time. Never a straight answer, and told to wait and call later and later and later perpetually until he ends up at an answering machine that is closed until further notice. After spending all day again, we managed to get him a place to sleep just for tonight. Late in the day. And tomorrow we will spend all day again trying hopelessly until he gives up. Trying helplessly until his phone runs out of battery. I can tell you what's really going on here. The Muslim community he grew up in has an invisible wall built around it. No one is allowed in, no one is allowed out. While they slowly grow like cancer, like a ghetto but far worse. Almost every terrorist attack in the country comes from this small area in Melbourne of Muslims. Instead of dealing with the problem and enforcing the rule of law on these people, the government and the corporations and the general public have all given up on this place and others, like Lakemba, as conquered land. And they turn a blind eye to anything that goes on inside. A bombing happens on the inside? Never happened. 20 people get knifed to death in a mosque in one day? Never happened. It's all good so long as nothing gets in or out. And they want to put him back in the pen. I believe that Muslim apostates should have a separate community for themselves. In the long term, somewhere else in the world, like the Middle East, forcefully are paid for twice over by Muslims themselves. But in the short term, what should we do about legitimate apostates in Australia? You know, the place where refugees go to escape Islamic terrorists? Should we condemn them to the dark horrors Muslims will do to them and turn a blind eye to conquered land, letting them deal with it internally? Or should we enforce the fucking rule of law and protect apostates until we sort out where to move them later and charge Muslims for the cost twice over? Is this really a country when not just the government but everyone turns a blind eye and allows the land within their major cities to be conquered by a medieval cult that believes in child marriage and regular beheadings? If your country is not ruled by the same laws, then it is not a country at all. And when your government turns a blind eye while medieval terrorists subjugate people in their own country and turn a blind eye when the terrorists' slaves escape and are hunted searching desperately for asylum in your own country, then what you have is not a government at all. And the population is anything but a civilization. Is there anyone who can help my friend in Melbourne? He needs a safe haven away from Islam and a place as to stay. At least he can until he can find a place to live and what to do. He's scared, lost, confused, and desperate. I don't know what else I can do. I've tried everything, and so is he. We're both being deliberately fucked with every single step of the way, on every side. I tried for 3 years for someone somewhere in the world to help me with such a small request that could save my life, and not a single one stepped forward all this time. I know it's probably futile, but I have to try anyway. Is there someone, somewhere, who can get my friend a place to stay? If at least just temporarily, and maybe a little help to find out what to do, how to get a permanent place and get a stable income and all that kind of stuff. He's in Melbourne, Victoria. I'm in another state. Even if he wants to somehow travel all this way, my own political situation and other reasons prevent me from being able to have him stay with me for now. Maybe tomorrow something will happen, but I doubt it. Sick as I am, I will try again tomorrow because no one else fucking will. And you all wonder why the world is going to shit. You're the fucking reason. Is there anyone anywhere who can help him out? Not just a temporary place to stay, but to help him get a permanent place and sort his income out and everything. I'm pretty sure he's able to. He's very confused, and because he's grown up subjugated in Islam, he's not a Muslim. He hates Islam, and he's done a lot of personal study on the internet. This is one of the reasons he hates Islam, and he wants to leave Islam. He has left Islam. He just kept it a secret. He was trying to save up money to move out, but he's got nowhere to move. He can't find an income. I'm sure he's willing to work if you just give him some kind of normal, typical job that doesn't require a degree and stuff like that. I'm sure he'd probably be willing to do that, and able to do that, willing and able. But is there anyone there can just help talk to him, sort him out, and find somewhere he can stay and give him some breathing room and some help to sort the rest of it all out? He's lived under Islamic subjugation in Australia. He's got things that he has to learn. I'm sure he'll be willing to learn to take care of himself and all that kind of stuff. But there's things he hasn't learned, and he's obviously very traumatized by being oppressed by Islam and having basically a sword to his neck 24/7. And I think he can probably be able to manage on his own, but he needs help, not just accommodation help. He needs help sorting himself out and learning some life skills and stuff like that as well. Is there anyone anywhere who can help this guy in Melbourne, Victoria? I have to try. Probably futile, because I've tried for 3 fucking years I don't exist. I just don't even exist. But here I am making this video. Maybe it will reach someone who can do what I can't locally. All I can do is fucking try.